Hey guys, welcome. I'm Cassie and today we're going to have a look at Cobra Pose and Upward Facing Dog. So this is the last part of our vinyasa. So often in class you will hear the words take your vinyasa, moving from downward facing dog into plank pose, lowering down into chaturanga, and then you have the choice to either take Cobra Pose or Upward Facing Dog as your back bend. So before we take a look at these poses, I just want to touch on the fact that they are back bends. And often when we think of back bending poses, we obviously think of, bending back, okay? But what can actually happen when we just think of it as bending back is that we can get this crunching and dumping into the lower back, okay, this lumbar spine area. So it's really important to understand how our back bends work when we're doing a back bend. And I like you to think of your back bend as coming from the upper back, so from your thoracic spine, meaning from about the bra strap area, okay? So, or you can also think of it as moving up of the sternum and initiating your back bend from this upper back, and then the rest of the spine continues. So you want to think of your back bends rather than just bending back. You want to think of it as an extension and lengthening of the back body as we open up the front body. Okay, so yeah, really think of it as extension and lengthening of the back body as you also strengthen the back body. Okay, so we're going to take a look at these poses, but I really want you to be aware of initiating the movement from the upper back area and drawing the torso up out of the pelvis to create that length and that extension of the spine. Okay, so let's take a look first of all at Cobra Pose, just on its own. So coming down onto your belly. I'm going to take the hands so that they're underneath the shoulders, okay, and then actually I'm going to start with the legs and the feet. So I'm just going to come up slightly with my upper body, but usually you would be forehead down and hands underneath your shoulders. Okay, so I'm just going to come up and talk to you about the legs and the feet. So let's start with our feet and our legs hip distance apart. Tops of the feet are pressing into the floor, and you want to make sure that your feet are in a neutral position. So they're not rolling out and they're not rolling in. Okay, so in a neutral position. And this movement actually comes from your thigh bones. Okay, so the thigh bones are in a neutral position. We don't have external rotation of the thigh or internal rotation of the thigh. We have that thigh in a neutral position, and then the feet will be in a neutral position. You may have a slight roll in or roll out of the feet, just depending, but check in with the thigh bones, and if the thigh bones are in a neutral position, then your feet will be roughly neutral for your body. Okay, so we find that positioning of the legs, and then we press the tops of the feet into the floor and engage the legs. So when we think about engaging the legs, you can think about drawing your quads, so the fronts of the thighs, up towards your hip bones and engaging through the hamstring. So you can think about the hamstring, the back of the thigh, pulling up towards the ceiling. Okay, both of these actions and pressing the feet into the floor will lift the kneecaps off the floor. Then you want to draw your tailbone gently towards your heels. So I'm not over tucking the pelvis, okay, it's just a gentle activation of drawing my tailbone gently towards my heels. Okay. Pubic bone presses into the floor. I engage through my pelvic floor and draw my belly away from the floor. So really think navel towards spine, and you're creating space between the floor and your belly. If your belly doesn't come off the floor, this is totally fine, but you're really just trying to create that space between the belly and the floor. Also activating your glutes gently. Okay, so you don't need to be squeezing the glutes on, but we want to have a gentle activation of the glutes to protect the pelvis and the lower back. Hands are underneath the shoulders, traditionally for Cobra Pose. When you've lowered down from your vinyasa, so from plank to chaturanga to cobra, your hands will be slightly back so that they're more in that 90-degree angle. Well, let's just look at it traditionally for now with the hands underneath the shoulders. Elbows are winging in to the body, okay? So we're not out to the sides, we're drawing them in, okay? We have that feeling as if we were opening the jam jar, which I've spoken about in previous videos, okay? So squeezing the elbows in. Okay, so all that activation is happening, and then from here we take an inhale as we start to lift the sternum. So think more dragging the sternum forward and then up as you pull the shoulders slightly back, so a slight retraction of the shoulder blades, opening through the front body, broadening the collarbones, opening the heart space. You can test your height here by gently taking out the hands and seeing if you can maintain the posture. And then slowly lowering down. So that is your Cobra Pose. And now we're going to take a look at upward facing dog. So upward facing dog has the same activation of the body as I just spoke about in Cobra Pose. We're really going to push the floor away with our hands, and we're going to push the floor away with our feet. So in the end, the only things that will be touching the floor when we do upward facing dog are the hands and the feet, nothing else. Okay, so we come back down. We'll look at it from the floor up first. Okay, so press the tops of the feet into the floor. This time I'm going to take my hands back so they're in that 90-degree angle or close to that 90-degree angle. Press the tops of the feet into the floor. Feet and legs are in a neutral position, hip distance apart. Engage through the legs, so the quads, the hamstrings. Gently drawing my tailbone towards my heels. Slight activation of the glutes. Engaging through the pelvic floor, the lower belly drawing in and up. Okay, from here, I'm going to start to press the floor away, keeping a gentle bend in the elbows to start with, checking in with my lower back, making sure it feels okay. Starting to broaden the collarbones as I gently lift a little higher. Press into the hands, press into the tops of the feet. Continue to broaden the collarbones, gentle retraction of the shoulders, heart space nice and open. Eye gaze just forward. Some people do like to look up, which is totally fine. Just make sure you're not crunching into your neck. Remembering that the neck is an extension of the spine. Keep pushing, pushing, pushing through the hands and the feet. Take a nice big breath in, and we'll exhale to lower down. Okay? And also, I just want to note that you can do a modified up dog by tucking the toes under. So if you do feel pressure in your lower back area, I suggest trying it with a tucked toe position. Okay, so exactly the same, except coming up with the toes tucked. Okay, this is also a really great option for you to try if you need to modify if you're feeling any discomfort in the lower back. Okay, so really be aware in your back bends of how your lower back feels, and if it's not feeling great, then you just want to check in and notice what's going on. Maybe something's not activating correctly, so we really want to try and work out what that is so that the lumbar spine stays nice and healthy. Now the only other thing I want to take a look at is if we were moving through our vinyasa, transitioning into these poses. Okay, so we'll come back up. We will have ourselves in plank pose. Okay, so remember, find all that strength in your plank pose, and then inhale forward, exhale, lower down, chaturanga. If you're coming into Cobra, nice, slow, controlled exhale to come all the way down into Cobra, lifting with the inhalation. Okay? And then, if you're coming into upward facing dog, you come into your plank pose. Strong plank, inhale, full, exhale, lower down, chaturanga. Use the full exhale, pause in your chaturanga, and then inhale, flip the toes over, press into the floor with the hands and the tops of the feet, lifting up into your upward facing dog on your inhale. And then release. One other thing I should mention is that in that transition from coming chaturanga into upward facing dog, some people like to roll over the toes, which is a really, really pretty and nice transition. I personally like to flip the toes, which is what you just saw me do, but you're more than welcome to roll over your toes. That's it. That's the last part of the vinyasa, the Cobra Pose and the upward facing dog. So be really mindful of how your back bends feel when you're coming into your back bends. Be aware of the whole body, remembering to take care of the body, remembering to move with the breath. So that's just one thing I just want to touch on, is it's really, really easy to hold the breath in a back bend. Okay, it's really tempting. So be very aware of your breath. Make sure you move into your back bend with your inhalation and take the full inhalation. Nice, long, steady inhale with the movement, remembering that the breath is always your first movement. Get really comfortable in your more foundational back bend poses like your Cobra Pose. Upward facing dog is an advanced back bend. Okay, so start with Cobra Pose, so really comfortable in that, then move into upward facing dog, and then we get to move into your more advanced postures like wheel pose and scorpion, which are lots of fun. But the most important part of the practice is to just be feeling into your body, making sure that you feel really comfortable, really supported, and really healthy. All the fancy poses come later. Okay? Enjoy your practice, guys. Let me know how you go, and I will catch you later. See ya.